Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Aintree Racecourse here on Saturday. It is the 15th of April 2023. It's Grand National Day from Aintree, and I'm going to look at the Grand National and almost all the other races on the program from Aintree. But before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Get 5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and also join me next week for the Craven meeting from Newmarket for my thoughts on those races. But it's Grand National today. It looks like it's going to be an exciting race, so we'll look at that. And some of the other races, or actually all the races except the 7th race, 620, the bumper. We're not going to look at that race. So we'll look at the first 6 on the program, all connected in the place pot. So let's get to it right now. Starting off the first race to 145, it's the Grade 1 Maghull Novices Chase. It's a Grade 1 event for Class 1 horses going for a $144,000 purse race for novice 5-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 6 horses going 3,200 meters or 2 miles over the chase course. My top selection, I'm going to go take the 4-horse John Bond. I'm going to go 4-2-1 in your tri-cast trifecta. 4-2-1 tri-cast trifecta. Top selection of 4-horse John Bond. The 7-year-old gun by Walk in the Park. Nicky Henderson trains this one. Aiden Coleman gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the 14th of March at Cheltenham. 2 miles in the Grade 1 Arkle Challenge Trophy, and he finished second by 5 1/4 lengths that day. And that's at 2-1. He just couldn't keep the straight course late. He had a few mistakes which caused him. He didn't run bad, but he still needed something more. Coming back to Aintree, where he ran very well last year, I think he'd get the job done and win. He's not facing Constitution Hill, who absolutely freaked on Thursday afternoon. That was an impressive performance, probably best race of his life. But he's not running here today against this one. And if he would, he'd probably win this race by another country mile. But 2 back in the Kingmaker Novices Chase at Warwick, 2 miles 11th of February, and he won by 5.5 lengths. And he was at a very heavy bet, 6 cents to the dollar, and he took off clear, quickened up nicely. A very good race on quite fast ground for the time of season. And then 3rd of December, Sandown, a mile 15/16 in the Grade 1 Henry VI Novices Chase. He won by 8 lengths that day. And again, he basically won on a trot, a very, very easy race. One before that Novice Chase here at Warwick very nicely. He ran here in the top Novices Hurdle last season where he won by a neck. He was all out, but he got the job done. It was a good race. Refreshing back here at 4-5. I know it's a low price, but he's a very likely winner. The 2-horse Calico for Harry Skelton wouldn't surprise me if he wins. They dropped him down to a handicap most recently at Doncaster over the 2 miles, which was a good confidence builder. He won by a nose. He was a little all out, but he got the job going away there. He placed before then the Kingmaker behind John Bond, and then won another handicap at Seldo quite nicely. He is stepping up in some class. He should like the yielding ground. It wouldn't surprise me if he gets a good trip. We'll use him as a little bit of a price play in this place pot, but John Bond is your very likely winner. But to recap my selection for the first to 145 from Aintree, it's the Grade 1 Maghull Novices Chase. Gonna take the 4-horse John Bond. Give kudos to the 2-horse Calico. 4-2-1 tri-cast trifecta. 4-2 in your place pot. To the second event, the 225, it is the Village Hotel's Handicap Hurdle. It's a premier handicap hurdle for Class 1 horses going for a $90,000 purse race for 4-year-olds and upwards. Field of 22 horses going the distance of ground here of 3 miles and 1/8 over the hurdle course. My top selection, I'm going to go take the number 9 horse Atelier. I'm going to go 9-3 in your forecast exacta. 9-3 forecast exacta. Top selection 9-horse Atelier. The 7-year-old gelding by Authorized. John Joe O'Neill trains. John Joe O'Neill Jr. gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the 16th of March at Cheltenham. First off the long refreshing of about 6 months. 3 miles in a Class 1 Premier Handicap Hurdle. And the horse finished 6 by 4.5 lengths. Was just probably a little bit flat that day. He never got the good turn of foot. He ran decently, but he still needed something more. Refreshing here, he's going to be second off the bench and handle the yielding going. I think he gets some redemption, and I think he's sitting on a very good run here today. Before that, he ran the 22nd of October at Cheltenham, which seems like an eternity ago now. 3 miles in a Class 2 handicap hurdle, and he finished third by 3 3/4 lengths that day. He was on the drive and just couldn't catch the winner, who just outgamed this horse that day. But he got around the race course well for it being his first start since 28th of May. That came at Cartmel. 3 miles and 8th in a Class 2 handicap hurdle. He finished second by a half length. The winner had the jump on this horse, but he got around the race course well, and then he was a winner at Haydock last April. 3 miles in a Class 2 handicap hurdle, won by 1/4 lengths, all out, good clear victory, jumped a terrific race. His speed figures I think are up to par to run against these horses. At 6-1 I'm going to use him. I think his second likeliest winner is the 3-horse Ernie River. Gets Hammond up in the saddle for Nick Kent. Most recently in the Riddlesham Hurdle at Haydock, 3 miles on the 18th of February, he finished 4th by 13 lengths. He just saw too tough competition. His wheels were spinning that day against the tough horses. Back to a handicap here today, not the world's toughest race. I think he could find the winner's enclosure because two back on right after Christmas or right before New Year's at Doncaster, 3 miles in a Class 3 handicap hurdle. He had a very good place at Doncaster, finishing second by 3/4 length. He jumped a terrific race. He just needed that extra furlong or so, but he was running like a winner there. And then they took him to a graduation chase at Haydock before that, where he finished second by 11 lengths. Ben Hitman, who's a great horse. This horse just wasn't getting to him. But, coming here back to the hurdles, lesser quality horses, it wouldn't surprise me. At 15-1, we'll use him on the place pot. Exact forecast combinations also with this one. But to recap my selection for the 225, the second race from Aintree, it's the Village Hotel's handicap hurdle. Going to take the 9-horse Antelier. Give kudos to the 3-horse Ernie River. 9-3 forecast exacta. Use them both in the multi-race. The third race now, the 3 o'clock. It's the Grade 1 Turner's Mersey's Novice Hurdle. It's a Grade 1 event for Class 1 horses, going for a $120,000 purse. Race for novice 4-year-olds and upwards. Field of 15 horses are entered to go 4,000 meters or 2.5 miles over the hurdle course. My top selection, I'm going to go take the number 8 horse Irish Point. Let's go 8-5 in your forecast exacta. 8-5 forecast exacta. Top selection to 8-horse Irish Point. 5-year-old gelding by Joshua Tree, who, he won the Canadian International twice, if not 3 times. Great horse. But Gordon Elliott trains one. Davy Russell gets the mount. Gordon Elliott did not train Joshua Tree. I can't think who trained him right now. I know it wasn't O'Brien, but I'm going to have to Google that one after this one. But Irish Point, his most recent outing came in Ireland at Naas on the 12th of March. Miles 7/8 in the Grade 3, Bar 1 Racing, Kingsford's Novice Hurdle. And he won by 1 1/4 lengths that day. And it was 25 cents to the dollar favorite that day. And he basically did everything easily. He quickened up nicely. Never got to the bottom of the horse. It was a very good return to the races. It was his first start in about 6 weeks. 6 weeks prior at Leopardstown, 2 miles in the Grade 1 Ireland Novice Hurdle. He finished 4th by 16 lengths there, and he just was never comfortable. He never quickened up. I thought he just saw a little bit too tough competition that day. And then the Grade 1 Layler of Naas Novice Hurdle at Naas, 8th of January, 2.5 miles. He finished second by 2 1/4 lengths that day. And I thought he liked the trip. He quickened up a lot that day. The winner had the jump on him, Champ Kelly. Nothing bad about that race there. And then a Ferry House in the Royal Bond Novice Hurdle in the 4th of December. He finished second by a head. He needed something more, like a longer trip, but he still ran his heart out. Refreshing here, back to a 2.5-mile trip, which I think he should like. I think he could run a good race. It wouldn't surprise me if the 5-horse Dark Raven for Paul Town and Willie Mullins wins. Most recently in the Skybet Supreme Novices Hurdle at Cheltenham, 2 miles on the 14th of March. The horse finished 6th by 9.5 lengths that day and just completely hit the wall. I don't think he handled the final tough furlong there at Cheltenham. Refreshing to Aintree, a little bit leveler playing field. He should get a better trip and win. Before the Ireland Novice Hurdle, I thought he ran a terrific race at Leopardstown over the 2 miles. He finished 3rd by 9 3/4 lengths that day and was really, gaining ground late. Nothing bad about that run. And then at Leopardstown on Boxing Day in the main hurdle, winning by 3. He was all out going away with it. He probably wanted more ground. Another horse going to the longer trip shouldn't be a problem. I'm going to give him a shot here, a 5-1 to upset here. Quad pot begins with this race. So like I said, if you play the quad or the place pot, I think I want to go too deep in this one. But to recap my selection for the third, the 3 o'clock from Aintree, it's the Grade 1 Mersey's Novice Hurdle. Going to take the 8-horse Irish Point. Give kudos to the 5-horse Dark Raven. 8-5 forecast exacta. Use them both in your multi-race. The 4th race now, the 335. It is the Grade 1 Liverpool Hurdle. It's a Grade 1 event for Class 1 horses, going for a $300,000 purse. Race for 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 10 horses, staying the 3 miles and 1/8 over the hurdle course. My top selection, I'm going to go take the number 10 horse Mary's Rock. Let's go 10-3-4 in your TriCash trifecta. 10-3-4 TriCash trifecta. Top selection 10 horse Mary's Rock. 8-year-old mare by Milan. Nicky Henderson trains one. Niga de Blainville gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the 14th of March at Cheltenham, 2.5 miles in the Grade 1 Close Brothers Mares Hurdle. She ran a clunker that day. She finished 7 by 15 lengths. She never showed up. She had quite a few mistakes. It was a weird head-scratcher run. Refreshing against the boys. Not the world's toughest race. Going to a longer trip, which I think she should like. I'm going to give her redemption for the last race. She should have did a lot better than she did that day. That's what I want to get across. Before then, the Real Killer Hurdle, she ran her heart out of Cheltenham on New Year's Day. 2.5 miles there. She won by a half a dozen. She quickened up nicely and had all the left in the tank that day. A very, very good going-away victory for it being her first start since the 30th of April. They came up Punchestown, 2 miles and 3/8 in the Grade 1 Irish EBF Mares Champion Hurdle, winning by 1 1/4 lengths. A 10-1 upsetter. She had the turn of foot, and she beat home a good group of horses home. Epatante, Stormy Ireland. A very, very good run for her there. And then in the Mares Hurdle at Cheltenham last year on the 15th of March, she won by 1 3/4 lengths, an upset at 18-1. That day, she really, really took off clear. Refreshing here, back to a longer trip, again facing the boys. I think she could get redemption. That's when I think of Aintree, I think of Cheltenham redemption. When you don't have the great race at Cheltenham, you come back here and really put on the show. So I'm going to use her here. I think the 3-horse Dashel Drasher is your second likeliest winner for Jeremy Scott and Dingle up in the saddle. Most recently in the Stayers Hurdle at Cheltenham, the horse finished second by 3/4 in length and really outran his 40-1 odds. He was really gaining that day. He jumped a terrific race. He ran probably one of the best races of his life. I don't want to say the best race because I thought the best race came here quite a few starts ago, but there was nothing bad about that run. Two back on the in the Cleve Hurdle, the horse finished second by 3/4 by 3 lengths that day. The winner Gold Tweet had the jump on him, but this horse, he got around the race course well. And then the real keel, he had a decent place behind Mary's Rock that day. His best race of the season, I think, and probably lifetime, was in defeat here in the Many Clouds Chase here on the 3rd of December. Over the bigger obstacles, he placed behind Noble Utes that day, who really put on a show. But this horse, he got around the race course well. Not a bad race from there. And then he went over the 2.5 miles here at Aintree in November very, very nicely. Come back here at 8-1. I'm going to definitely use him in the play spot because he has a strong chance in this one as a bit of an upsetter, outsider. But to recap my selections now for the 4th, the 335 from Aintree, it's to grade 1 Liverpool Hurdle. Going to take the 10-horse Mary's Rock. Give kudos to the 3-horse Dashel Drasher. 10-3-4 Tricast Trifecta, 10-3 in your multi-race. Let's get to the 5th race, the 4:15. It's the William Hill Handicap Chase. It's a Class 1 Premier Handicap Chase going for a $120,000 purse, race for 5-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 15 horses going the distance of ground of 3 miles and 1/8 over the chase course. My top selection, I'm going to go with the number 3 horse, Nasalem. I'm going to go 3-5 in your forecast exacta. 3-5 forecast exacta. Top selection 3-horse Nasalem. 6-year-old gelding by Dreamwell. Gary Moore trains. Jamie Moore gets the mounts. The horse's most recent outing, again, clunker at Cheltenham, 3 miles and 1/8 in a Class 1 Premier Handicap Chase, and the horse finished 10th by 34 lengths, and he was on the drive, just not excelling. Wheels are spinning. I don't know if he handled the going. It just wasn't a recipe for success. Way down the class ladder to this handicap today. Should get a better forwardly paced trip. I think he's better handicapped here, and I think he could run a good race here today. Carrying 153 pounds in this one is not bad at all. On New Year's Day, the horse ran in a Premier Handicap Chase at Cheltenham, 2 miles 5/8 there, and the horse finished 3rd by 4.5 lengths. He won the longer trip, but he was jumping well throughout. Nothing bad about that race. And then the November meeting at Cheltenham, 2.5 miles in a Class 1 Premier Handicap Chase. He finished 6 by 11 lengths that day, and he just was on the drive, not really excelling. I thought the ground was a little bit too fast for him, especially for the race before at Ascot in October. 2 miles and 1/8 in that Premier Handicap Chase, finished 5th by 21 lengths. Time White really put on the show on the firm ground. This horse just wasn't liking it there. Throw those races out. He's going to get yielding ground, which he should absolutely adore. Back to the longer trip. I think he gets some redemption from the last few races. I'm going to use him here. I think the 5-horse here, Beauport, is your second likeliest winner. Most recently in an amateur handicap chase at Cheltenham, he finished 9th by 32 lengths there and just never really was into it there. Weakened out of it. A few mistakes, just a horrible race. Before then, the Paddy Power Novices Chase at Cheltenham on New Year's Day, he finished 4th by 20 lengths that day, and again, he just kind of hit the wall. He got beat by better horses there, but before that, Novice Chase at Haydock over the 2 miles 5 furlongs, he finished 2nd by 11 lengths. The winner had the jump on him, but he got around the race course well, and then he won an intermediate chase at Carlisle quite nicely. He ran here in the over the hurdles last year in the EBF Construction Handicap Hurdle, where he finished 4th by 17 lengths that day. He showed potential early on. The 3 in front of him were better on paper and better on the day, but again, he showed potential on the course. Come back here to the bigger obstacles. I'm going to give him a shot at 6-1 in this wide open event, so let's use him. To recap my selection now for the 4:15, the 5th race from Aintree, it's the William Hill Handicap Chase. Going to take the 3-horse in Salem. Give kudos to the 5-horse Beauport. 3-5 forecast exacta. Let's use the 3 and 5 both in the place or in the quad pot here. So let's get to the 6th race now, the 5:15 from Aintree. It's the feature. It is the Grand National. It's a Class 1 Premier Handicap Chase going for a $1.2 million purse, race for 7-year-olds and upwards. Field of 40 horses entered to go the distance of ground of 4 miles and 1/4 over the Grand National course. So basically just under 2 laps they're going. It's going to be an exciting run. With that being said, I'm going to give you my top four. Use them all in the quad or place pot here, exact forecast combinations, and depending on the price, do it each way on them. But my top selection this year in the Grand National would be the 13 horse Galliard du Mincel. I'm going to go, and this is my top four, and I'm going to give you it in order, but you don't have to play it in order. But I would go 13, 2, 26, 6. So you got that? It was 13, 26, or excuse me, 13 2 26 6. 13 2 26 6. Here in the States, when you listen to the handicappers, they give out the numbers. In the UK, they just say the horse's name, which, I could do sometimes too, but I'm just used to it. Sometimes I get that comment, why don't you just instead of saying the horse's number, just say the names? Because here in the UK, they just go by the names. But here we go by the numbers, so that's why I'm giving you the numbers. But the top selection here would be the 13 horse Galliard du Mincel, the Cimarron given by Sante Saints. Willie Mullins trains when Paul Townend gets the mounts. The horse's most recent outing came the 14th of March at Cheltenham, 3 miles 3/4 in the Grade 2 National Hunt Challenge Amateur Jockeys Novice Chase, and this horse really put on a show, winning by 2 3/4 lengths, had a little bit of a high weight of 161 pounds along with all of them that day, but he sat back, he slowly moved his way up, and he was under the drive, kept going late, 91 cents a dollar. He ran like a 91 cents a dollar horse should run. Looked like he had a lot left in the tank. A very good race. He's coming to a more treacherous course here today. Should definitely get the trip, should be a little bit forwardly paced. I think he could really run a good race and improve off that last run. Two back in the Ladbrokes Novice Chase at Leopardstown, 2 miles 5/8, 5th of February. He finished third by 9 3/4 lengths that day. Now, he wanted longer that day. I thought he probably wanted a 3-mile trip like he had the race before, but he settled well. He had a decent turn of foot, but, he just needed more of the trip there, but nothing bad about that run. And then before that, on right after Christmas at Leopardstown, 3 miles in Grade 1 Neville's Hotels Novice Chase, he won by 7.5 lengths. He was all out, quickened up nicely, and if the race was another mile, he still would have won it that easily. A very, very good race from there. Even the race before in defeat of Ferry House, 2.5 miles in the Grade 1 Drinmore Novices Chase, he had a decent second place finish behind Mighty Potter that day. He just needed more ground, but again, he ran decently. Should handle the yielding going, getting good handicap here of 154 pounds. Watch out for him at the finish. I think another winner for this one would be the 2-horse Noble Yeats for Sean Bowe and Emmett Mullins. 8-year-old gelding by Yeats here. Most recently in the Gold Cup at Cheltenham over 3 miles and a quarter. He finished fourth by 15 lengths that day. And again, he got around the race course well. He got beat by the better horses that day, but there was nothing bad about that run. He's going to go up with a longer trip. Ran decently here in December over this course. He goes, like I said, I think he's a very live horse in this one. Before then, the Coldwell Chase at Cheltenham, 3 miles and 8th, 28th of January. He finished third by 3.5 lengths that day. Again, better horses beat him on the day, but he got around the race course well, jumping, decently around the course. And then prior to that, here at Aintree in the Many Clouds Chase, he won by 3 1/4 lengths. Again, a very easy run. Had the run-in that you need to win with that one. Come back here. Is the second heavyweight here of 165 pounds, but he could definitely do it with some serious class relief. I think your 26 horse here, who is, where are we? The 26 horse Crowroch Rambler for Lucinda Russell, I think is your second latest winner. 9-year-old gelding by Jeremy. Most recently on the 14th of March, Cheltenham, 3 miles and 8th in the Premier Handicap Chase. He won by a neck that day. He was all out on the drive and excelling. A very, very good race. He wanted more trip, I thought, at Newbury right after in late November. 3 miles and a quarter in the Premier Handicap Chase. He finished fourth by 9 lengths that day, and he was going a little bit late, but like I said, he got around the race course well, but he just was looking for a longer finish line farther away there, and then he needed the race before then in October at Carlisle, 2.5 miles in Intermediate Chase. He finished fifth by 25 lengths that day, and he just never really showed up. Before then, the Ultimate Handicap Chase last March at Cheltenham, he had a very good victory, winning by 2 1/4 lengths that day. It wasn't as impressive, it wasn't as hardly fought as the victory last time out here at Cheltenham, but he still really, really ran a terrific run. Coming here in the Grand National, longer trip, which I think you should like, at 5-1, good weight of 145 pounds. He could definitely do it, and also give a shot to the number 6 horse here, who was Campanado for Willie Mullins, and Mullins up in the saddle. Most recently in the Red Mills Chase at Gower, 2.5 miles, 18th of February. He finished third by 9.5 lengths that day, and again, he jumped terrifically, but he wants a longer trip. He got the longer trip before that in the Champion Novice Chase of Punchestown last April over 3 miles. He was running off lightning fast ground, but he won by 6.5 lengths, really taking off clear. And then before then, the Brown Advisory Novices Chase at Cheltenham in the Festival of 2020 2022. He finished fourth by 12 lengths that day. And again, a longer trip would have suited him well, but he jumped like a winner. He's coming here today, 159 pounds, not a bad weight, getting some serious class relief. Use him on the ticket. Just looking over the other horses in this one, the highweight any second now. He's getting up there in age. He ran this race last year, had a decent, place in this one last year behind Noble Yeats. But, this season his form hasn't been as great. And also the weight scares me. I think he's seen better days. The three-horse Galvin for Davey Russell. I'm going to have to overcome a high weight. If I had to give you a fifth horse, it probably would be Galvin. But the high weight kind of scares me with him, but I've seen weirder things. Fury Road, his form's really been going downhill. He's not a use for me on the ticket. The big dog, just again, form's just going a little bit flat with me. I just can't back him here. The 7-horse Delta Work, if he shows up, great, but his form has been very, up and down, up and down. He'll run a terrific race like he did in the cross country last time out, and then run like head scratchers like he did in January at Cheltenham. Can't use him for, like I said, I'll give him a congratulations, but he's too inconsistent with me. The 8-horse Sam Brown, very, just his races recently haven't been very well done, beat by many open lengths, and just not a use for me. The 9-horse Lifetime Ambition, again, many open lengths, way up in class here today. I just don't think he's gonna stay the trip well. The 10-horse Carefully Selected, again, he's coming in from Ireland. He could get the trip, probably will finish here, but, he's just stepped up a little bit class, which I don't know. The 11-horse Cocoa Beach, I did watch quite a few of his replays here today. Again, he was on the cusp of being on my ticket. I liked the victory last time out of Punchestown. He goes up a lot with the longer trip. If it's not today, he's a kind of horse I would keep an eye on for next season. The 12-horse Longhouse Poet, I like the victory last time out down Royal, but he is stepping up a major class here today, and his form when he steps up in class is a little bit inconsistent. But we already talked about 13-horse Galère de Mansell, my top selection. The 4-horse Drasso, the 14-horse Drasso, again, stepping up in class here today. I don't know if he's going to stay the trip, not my use. The 15-horse Les Milios for Harry Skelton. He won at Kelso very nicely, or placed at Kelso very nicely last time out, and he won before that Newbury quite nicely. He should stay the trip, another horse on the cusp for me, but he would have to really run his AA race. The 16-horse Escaria 10 for Adrian Heskin, ran horribly at Cheltenham last time out where he didn't finish the race. Ran here last year where he was beat by many, many legs walking on the line. Form hasn't been that well for him this year. Just not a use for me. The 17-horse The Big Breakaway, his form's been very inconsistent here. He does go up with a little bit soft ground, but it's just very, very tired horses you've seen lately. The 18-horse Cape Gentleman, another horse stepping up way in the class ladder. I just can't take him here. The Roy Mage coming in with Felix Giles up on this one. He ran decently at Compiègne in November, and then ever since then his form's just been going a little backwards here. The 20-horse Doyle Care, another horse way up in the class ladder. He could stay the trip, but I just don't think against these horses. The 21-horse A Wave of Sea, again, another horse way up the class ladder. I just don't think he's going to get the trip for Joseph O'Brien. Manila Trump, he's a wise guy horse with a low weight here today at 50-1. He stepped up way in class, but he's another horse. He'll get the trip, but is the class good enough here today with him? And then the 23-horse Vanillar, again, stepping up in class here today. Can he get it? Can he not? I just don't think so. The 24-horse Velvet Elvis, winner 2 back very nicely at Ferry House, but then just never really showing a lot after that. Way up the class ladder. I just don't think he's going to stay the trip. 25-horse Ain't That a Shame. Just not a use for me. Won finally over the Chases last time out, but the trip is going to be the big question with him. I don't think so with him. We already talked about the 26-horse. 27-horse Enjoy de Lane. I don't think he's going to get the trip, facing too tough competition. You've seen very tired horses with him as of recently. The 28-horse Mr. Wonderful, or Mr. Incredible here, he ran a decent third at Cheltenham last time out, but, again, he's stepping up a little bit too much class for him here today, and, he could stay the trip, but I just don't think he's going to win here. The 29 horse Mr. Coffee. I love Coffee, but I just don't like Mr. Coffee because he's just not a use for me here today. Stepping up a little bit too much class here, and I just don't think he's going to get the trip as easily. The 30 horse Cloudy Glen for Charlie Deutsch and Venetia Williams, ran horribly at Cheltenham last time out where the horse pulled up out of it. Ran, okay at Haydock before that, but way back up the class ladder, I just not a use for me here. And also the breaks between some of the races just scare me with him. The 31 horse. Hopefully I don't lose my voice now. We only have 10 horses to go, Steve. We can do it. 31 horse Hill 16, ran horribly at Kelso a few weeks ago, where he completely dropped out of it, and then the race here in December never was really comfortable getting on the getting on the Grand National course. He's just not a use for me. I don't think he's going to stay and handle the course. And the 32 horse Gabby's Cross, again, way up the class ladder. Can he stay? Maybe, but it's just he's facing very tough competition. Recite a Prayer for Jack Foley. He ran decently here, or decently at Cork 3 back, but stepping up in class, just not my cup of tea here. Let's get to the next page of the notes. I did write notes for everybody here, and that's why this video's up very late. Where are we? I think I got to recite a prayer to the 34 horse Eva's Oscar. Most recently Nider, he ran okay there, but he kind of hit the wall late. And then the victories at Cheltenham in December was quite nicely done, and the race before that, but that was on lightning fast ground. You can see almost opposite today. If the ground was faster, I would give him a shot here, but I think his better days are not today. 35 horse our power for Sam Twist and Davies, like the victory at Kempton last time out and the victory at Ascot before that, but that was on fast ground. Soft ground here today, just a head scratcher with him. Probably will stay the trip, but just a soft ground he won't like. This 36 horse Dunboyne, way up the class ladder, just not a use for me. 37 horse Frankie de Burlas, again, the form's been quite horrible. Refused last time out at Cheltenham, not a use for me. And then the 38 horse Force Q's, he just again never really has been showing up there, completely hitting the walls. Not a use for me. 39 horse back on the lash. Again, let's finish it. We have one more horse to go. Back on the lash. Victory 2 back wasn't bad at all in the cross country in January at Cheltenham, where he upside 16-1, but then ran horribly after that at Cheltenham. He goes up a little bit with the yielding ground, but as an outside low weight, he would be a use for me. He'd be on like the 10th on my ticket if I had to give you, but he's just not. That race at Cheltenham last time out, he should have did a lot better, be on Delta work. And now the final horse of the field, the 40 horse Born by the Sea. Form's been very, very horrible as of recently. I don't think he's going to stay the trip. Not a use for me. So with that being said, we're going to recap my selections now for the 6th race, the 5:15 from Aintree. It's the Grand National here from Aintree. My top selection, I'm going to go with the 13 horse Gallier de Mansell. And like I said, here's my top 3, or top 4. 13 horse Gallier de Mansell is my top selection. Second, I would go with Noble Yeats. Third, I would go with the 26 horse Courage Rambler, and the 6 horse would be my 4th selection here, Capadano, or Capadano. Here we go, Capadano. Here we go. 13 to 26-6. So that was 13 to 26-6. So that's my top 4 here in this year's Grand National. So like I said, heading over now to the 6:20, the 7th race, final race on the program. I don't look at the bumpers. I watch as a fan, but as a handicapper, I just don't like looking at these races. With that being said, now good luck to all. Please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kit 5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and join me next week for my Newmarket Craving meeting previews. It's going to be an excellent week there. I also have Cheltenham next week, if I'm not mistaken, also. So join me for that. Good luck, everybody, and hopefully we make some money with this Aintree card today. Good luck.